Aratos was very irritated. As the former sky-bearing god of Olympus, who had looked down upon the gods of other divine realms with disdain, there were almost no beings in this world except the supreme god who could make him wary, let alone those weak and powerless humans who were like ants. But he never imagined that as time passed and many divine realms collapsed one after another, those humans of Great Xia would still exist unscathed. They had even become so arrogant as to actively hunt gods. First he was thoroughly deceived by that damned Bia, then after finally wearing down Zeus he lost the competition for the golden throne to Poseidon, and was even hunted by a human for days, nearly losing his life. Aratos was furious and frustrated, forced to secretly recover in this sea area. Just as he was about to come up for air he encountered another group of humans floating on the sea. Looking at the drifting exploration ship that wasn't even as big as his palm, his anger immediately flared up. Surging divine power gathered into a thick divine pillar that crashed down toward the sea surface. Boom! Waves hundreds of meters high were smashed upward, and a deep rumbling sound echoed through the clouds. Under this sky-reaching pillar the exploration ship was like a paper toy, instantly torn to pieces. 7 deep purple cloaks flew out simultaneously, rapidly circling around the towering Greek deity. Damn, the ship's gone. Why is this guy so angry? Suja, carrying those illusory black wings, couldn't help but curse. If you were hunted for so many days, you'd be just as angry. Feng Mo's pupils transformed into tiger eyes. Lu Jun, connect the mental channel. Got it. The next moment Feng Mo's voice resonated in everyone's mind. Everyone scatter away from 073. We can't directly confront a deity at our current level. Don't do anything stupid. Yes, I'm talking to you. Lu Baozhu. Lu Baozhu's hand had just touched the hilt of his sword when his brows furrowed, and he silently withdrew his hand. 7 deep purple figures, each with 7 pairs of black wings, fluttered like chaotic butterflies around the massive Aratos, moving extremely fast and retreating in different directions simultaneously. Aratos wanted to pursue and kill them, but after glancing at the wounds on his body he just snorted coldly, temporarily suppressing the urge to swat these mosquitoes, and turned to leave. The seawater rolled beneath his mountain-like feet as his form gradually sank into the sea. He knew his presence had been discovered by humans, and regardless of his reluctance he could no longer stay in this place. But the demon squad, having finally found his trail, naturally wouldn't give up so easily. Where's Instructor Shin? Can't connect to the mental channel, probably not in the vicinity. A gleam flashed in Feng Mo's eyes. It seems we have to use that one. He took out a strangely shaped coin from his pocket. The moment the other members of the demon squad saw this coin, their expressions changed. Even Lu Baozhu's mouth twitched, his eyes full of vigilance. Commander Lin said this thing shouldn't be used unless absolutely necessary. Are you sure, Captain? Li Jinjin asked tentatively. If 073 escapes this time, who knows when we'll encounter him again? Determination filled Feng Mo's eyes. The moment I throw this out, escape at full speed. Understood. Feng Mo took a deep breath, injected a stream of mental power into the coin, then threw it with all his might toward the direction where Aratos was about to submerge. Run! A beam of light shot straight toward Aratos, and almost simultaneously, 7 deep purple figures fled desperately in all directions. What's that? Aratos sensed something approaching and looked up, only to see a brilliant light suddenly flashing above his head. Space. Outside the gray-white earth, a figure with 6 pure white wings floated silently in the void, eyes tightly closed, like an immaculate sacred sculpture. As a brilliant light flashed from a certain misty area on earth, his eyes suddenly opened. A golden domain spread beneath his feet. Like an ancient guardian awakened, he gripped the air and drew a golden holy sword from nothingness. The terrifying divine might seemed as if it would burn a hole through space itself. The next moment, this 6-winged seraph standing on golden light raised his holy sword and precisely thrust it toward the direction where the light had flashed. Silently, an enormous golden sword beam fell from the boundless deep space. The sword beam rapidly rubbed against the atmosphere, surging flames intertwining into a mass, like a sword of judgment piercing heaven and earth. The gray sky inexplicably turned fiery red. Confusion appeared in Aratos's eyes as he looked up. As the sword beam gradually enlarged, his pupils suddenly contracted. Whoosh! The golden sword beam engulfed the ocean, like an ever-expanding sun, swallowing everything around it. The 7 deep purple figures fled frantically outward, barely managing to escape the range of this strike. Standing outside the scorching golden light domain, relief of surviving a catastrophe appeared in their eyes. Too terrifying. Is this really an attack humans can create? Suja couldn't help but speak. You're not seeing Commander Lin's methods for the first time. Su Yuan looked at the still-burning golden domain with longing in his expression. I wonder when we can become this strong. It took Commander Lin 5 years from joining the Night Watchers to becoming a god, and it's been almost 5 years since we joined the Night Watchers, right? Suja clapped his hands. And what's the result? Except for those 2 prodigies Fang Mo and Lu Baozhu who have already touched the threshold of the ceiling, the rest of us are still lingering at the early stages of the Klein boundary. Some things can't be forced. As everyone was talking, the brilliant golden light finally began to fade. The whirlpool on the sea surface continued to rotate, now dyed blood red. Is 073 dead? Lu Baozhu frowned as he spoke. Fang Mo sniffed the air, transformed into a white tiger and leaped down to the sea surface. Shortly after, he flew back to the sky and shook his head. The precision of this method of triggering an attack from beyond is still insufficient. We couldn't hit his vital points and he's gone deeper. Fang Mo's voice sounded in everyone's ears. Disappointment finally appeared on the faces of the demon squad members. But he won't escape. Fang Mo looked up at the sky, where a figure with 6 gray wings was silently approaching in the soundless world. This attack caused too much commotion and attracted that one. If nothing unexpected happens, we should be able to complete our mission soon. Great summer. Several helicopters buzzed through the sky above the East China Sea. So that's Shenlong Gate. How magnificent. A new recruit peered through the porthole at the Silver City on the sea's surface, his mouth agape in shock. Impressive, isn't it? Beside him, a night watcher in his 30s grinned. If you get the chance, you should see Chinen Gate. It's even more spectacular. Beyond the fortress, the surrounding ground is shattered into ravines from divine battles, with countless gods' blood spilled on those walls. What a scene that was! You participated in that decisive battle back then? Another new recruit asked in surprise. Yes, and not just me. Basically every senior night watcher you see today took part. Each one of them survived from the brink of death. He paused, then continued. You youngsters can't possibly imagine how brutal it was. The new recruits on the helicopter nodded, unable to resist falling into reverie. However, these fortresses are mostly unmanned now. Even if there are people, they're just used as monitoring outposts. Why? Because we won back then, the middle-aged night watcher proudly declared. The once glorious divine nations are now shattered. Even if some foreign gods secretly band together, they can't pose much of a threat. Today our great summer has Commander Lin, plus 4 peak-level supreme gods, and 8 humans who rival the gods in power. Unless those foreign gods are seeking death, who would dare provoke us? The era of humans passively taking beatings is over. Now it's our turn to hunt the gods. Hearing these bold words, the new recruits' blood boiled with excitement, but then one of them quietly asked, "But I heard there are still Cthulhu mythos deities hiding on Earth?" The middle-aged night watcher's expression froze and he replied helplessly, "Matters of that level aren't for ordinary night watchers like us to worry about. Even if the sky falls, there will be someone to hold it up for us." The helicopter skimmed over the sea and soon reached the misty border. They should be arriving soon. Who's arriving? A recruit asked in confusion. Aren't we here to visit the Shenlong Gate ruins? Visit my ass. The middle-aged night watcher almost laughed from frustration. We received urgent orders to meet the demon squad and take custody of a god's corpse. Why else would we bring so many helicopters? We brought you rookies along to broaden your horizons. The demon squad? Everyone became excited upon hearing these words. Is it really them? Who's the demon squad? Some recruits still looked confused. You don't know? Great Summer Special Squad number 005, codename Demon. Established 4 years ago with countless military achievements, they're the most prominent young team among the Night Watchers. I heard they're Commander Lin's students. If I could join the Demon Squad after graduation, I'd be smiling in my dreams. Dream on. Compared to Demon, joining Phoenix is more realistic since they have personnel rotations more often. Listening to the recruits chattering about the Demon Squad, the middle-aged Night Watcher smiled and couldn't help but sigh. Time flies. Is it already the era of Demon now? Captain, which special squad was the most powerful in your day? The middle-aged Night Watcher smiled mysteriously and slowly uttered 2 words. Nightfall. Nightfall? The recruits looked at each other with blank expressions. Seems like I've heard of them somewhere. Were they even more powerful than Demon? Far more than just more powerful than Demon. The middle-aged Night Watcher chuckled. Back then, Nightfall was 100 times more prominent than today's Demon. The recruits were stunned, seeming somewhat skeptical. Were they really that amazing? Did they have more achievements than Demon? Achievements. The middle-aged Night Watcher clicked his tongue. Do you know who the captain of Nightfall was back then? Who? Today's Commander Lin. The recruits couldn't help but gape. If the Nightfall squad was so powerful, where are they now? Hearing this question, the middle-aged Night Watcher fell silent. After a long while, he smiled bitterly and sighed deeply. All gone. Those people will never reunite again. The recruits seemed to want to ask more when a voice echoed simultaneously in their communicators. They're back. Everyone turned to look. From within the wall of mist, 7 figures in deep purple flew out. Each held one corner of a giant net, and a deity's corpse as massive as a mountain was caught within it. Deep purple cloaks. It's the Demon Squad. The recruits' eyes immediately lit up. Several helicopters quickly approached, securing the corners of the giant net to their hooks, taking over the divine corpse from the Demon Squad. Finally here. I'm exhausted. Suja wiped sweat from his forehead, looking completely drained. The wings were controlled by Lu Baoyu and he provided all the strength. What are you tired from? Li Jinjin couldn't help but roll her eyes. Mental exhaustion, Suja laughed dryly. They'll handle the god's corpse. We need to hurry back to the capital to report. Fang Mo glanced at the sky. Otherwise, those knights will beat us to it again. Everyone's expressions changed. Without another word, Lu Baoyu pushed the wings on everyone's backs to their limits, transforming them into 7 streaks of light sweeping across the horizon. 10 minutes later. Beijing City, Night Watcher headquarters. Knock, knock, knock. Urgent, heavy knocking sounded at the door. Come in. Fang Mo was about to hurriedly push the door open when his footsteps suddenly halted. He wiped the sweat from his temple, quickly tidied his hair that had been disheveled by the fierce wind, cleared his throat, and then unhurriedly pushed open the door. Any harder and you would have broken my door, a voice drifted from behind the desk. Fang Mo's lips twitched slightly, his expression somewhat embarrassed. From behind the desk piled with documents, a figure slowly stood up. It was a man in his mid-20s. Though young in appearance, there was nothing immature about him. Rather, he possessed a deep ocean-like quality. Commander, I was just eager to report back to you, Fang Mo smiled, glancing around. Has the night squad returned? 10 minutes before you, but they're still vomiting at the dock due to seasickness. They should be here soon. Lin Chia put down the document in his hand and pointed to the chair in front of him. Have a seat. Method nodded in agreement and obediently sat down. In front of Lin Chia, he showed none of the presence of today's most prominent special team captain, but rather still resembled that student who had just graduated from the training camp. Shin Qingzhu has already briefed me on the specific situation. This time the hunt for 073 was successfully completed. Your team did well. Actually, we didn't do much, just drifted in that sea area for a few days, and then to prevent 073 from escaping, we triggered an external strike. In the end, Instructor Shin was the one who killed the god, Method said with a helpless smile. What? You haven't even reached the human ceiling yet and you want to slay gods? Lin Chia raised an eyebrow. As a special team, you've already done very well. You only had Wuliang back then, didn't you also slay a god at Takamagara? And there were only 3 of you at that time. Lin Chia was stunned, then replied helplessly. Do you really have to compare yourself to me? I know I may never be able to surpass you, but at least I want to try to chase your shadow. Method's eyes were filled with sincerity. Knock knock knock. Before Lin Chia could speak, an elegant knocking interrupted their conversation. Seems like this one recovered faster. Lin Chia guessed who the visitor was and said directly, "Come in." The door opened and a figure wearing red and white armor with a pristine white cloak stepped into the center of the office, extending one hand to the chest, respectfully performing a knight's salute to Lin Chia. "Have a seat, Charles. This time you're a bit slower than Method," Lin Chia's voice sounded. Charles and Method exchanged glances, both their eyes sparking with intense fire. After a cold snort, he still sat down in the chair beside him. 4 years ago, Demon and Knight were promoted in the same batch, and both were personally selected by Lin Chia, so naturally there was some competition between them. Over the years, Method and Charles had frequently competed during missions. Thanks to the existence of Knight as an external enemy, Method and Lu Baoyu had no choice but to join forces against them, which helped Demon grow into the top special team in a short time. Lin Chia saw all of this and certainly wouldn't interfere. As Commander-in-Chief, he was happy to see this kind of healthy competition. "Charles, how's the investigation I asked you to conduct?" Lin Chia looked toward Charles. Charles opened his mouth but still spoke reluctantly. "Commander, we've searched everywhere around Mount Olympus for years and couldn't find any trace of 043. This time we even managed to collaborate with the Upper Evil Association to infiltrate their circles, but still found no clues." Hearing this, Lin Chia's brows furrowed, his expression turning somewhat gloomy. 043? Hearing this code, Method felt it was somewhat familiar. 043. Wasn't that the code for Nyx, the goddess of night whom the Night Watchers had detected within Greater Xia's borders a few years ago? What did Commander Lin want with Nyx? After 043 was ambushed by Zeus and fled Olympus, there's been no trace of her. None of the world's gods have seen them since. We discussed with the Upper Evil Association's Research Institute and we think. Charles hesitated. Think what? That their survival is unlikely. Charles finally gathered the courage to say it. 043 was one of the 3 supreme gods of Olympus. Although she was ambushed by Zeus and forced to retreat, the grudge of her children's murder remains. If she were alive, she wouldn't have remained inactive for so many years. Perhaps the injuries 043 sustained back then were more severe than we imagined, and she completely perished not long after leaving Olympus. Snap. Before Charles finished speaking, a crisp breaking sound rang out. Charles was startled and looked around in confusion. He saw Lin Chia sitting calmly behind his desk wearing a deep red cloak, with nothing unusual except for his somewhat gloomy expression. "Are you finished?" Lin Chia slowly spoke. "Yes." For some reason Charles felt the atmosphere was strange. He swallowed and said cautiously, "Although you didn't discover any important intelligence, thank you for making this journey." Lin Chia picked up a document beside him and handed it to Charles, his voice softening somewhat. "I heard that recently a small-scale divine realm called Divine Desire Paradise has appeared somewhere in the mist with lewd and bizarre practices. Your next task is to investigate it." A new mission. Charles's eyes lit up and he immediately took the document from Lin Chia's hand. "Leave it to us." "What about us?" Method quickly asked. "Your team has been constantly on the move for 2 years. It's time for a vacation." Lin Chia took out a leave form he had prepared in advance. "Take a good rest these days and we'll arrange missions for you later." "All right." A vacation was indeed a luxury for the Demon team. In 4 years they had only taken one break. This time they had helped Shin Qingzhu slay a laster, which was a significant achievement, so they could take a good rest. As Method and Charles left the office and reached the ground floor of the Night Watchers' headquarters, Charles kept feeling something was off. He turned back instinctively and his eyes suddenly widened. Holy shit! This Western Night Commander opened with a perfect Chinese expletive. What's wrong? The headquarters, it's cracked. Method looked back and saw that the Night Watchers' headquarters building indeed had a crack. And this crack was located right near Lin Chia's office. Just as Method was about to say something, a flash of light passed by, and the headquarters building immediately returned to normal, as if everything just now had been an illusion. Charles was stunned, rubbed his eyes and spoke in confusion. Strange. It was definitely cracked just now. Method gave that office a deep look, then turned away and pulled Charles toward the distance. You're seeing things. I'll get you a bottle of essential balm later, just apply it a few times and you'll be fine. Essential balm? Is that your Greater Xia's ophthalmological miracle drug? Yes. Commander-in-Chief's office. Lin Chia stood by the window looking at the distant sky, his fists tightly clenched. Mother, he murmured. Nix was his first patient and besides his aunt, the person who had been kindest to him in the world. A child who grew up without a mother who went insane from the grief of losing her child. Their meeting was an initial stroke of luck and also mutual salvation. In Lin Chia's heart he had long regarded Nix as his mother. When Earth faced a crisis before, Nix never appeared, which made Lin Chia feel uneasy. For 4 years he had been sending people to search for Nix's whereabouts, but there were never any results. Chia. From the shadows of the office, Shin Qingzhu slowly emerged, his expression somewhat complex. The commotion just now might have fooled Charles and Method, but not Shin Qingzhu. He knew that at that moment, Lin Chia's mind had experienced a violent turbulence. She's still alive. After who knows how long, Lin Chia slowly spoke. What? If she were dead, I would have immediately felt the change in the laws of night. But in fact I didn't, so she must still be alive. A gleam of light appeared in Lin Chia's profound eyes. She's somewhere in this world, but for some reason she can't communicate with the outside. No matter what, I must find her. Shin Qingzhu nodded slightly. What do you want to do? Contact Lu Wuwei for me. Okay. Shin Qingzhu turned and was about to walk out of the office. Wait. Lin Chia pondered for a moment. Nix, as a supreme god, was trapped in that place, which means it could be extremely dangerous. Lu Wuwei hasn't ascended to godhood yet. It's too dangerous for him to go alone. Let Wang Mian go with him. In case of emergency, they can directly reverse time. I'll notify them. Shin Qingzhu's figure flickered and disappeared from the spot. In the empty office, Lin Chia was alone again. He sat back down in his office chair and looked up at the time. It's about time. Lin Chia pulled open a drawer containing a heavy medicine box. Inside the recessed slots, gray pills were neatly arranged. Looking at these pills, Lin Chia shook his head helplessly, but still took one out and swallowed it. Then he leaned back in his office chair as if about to fall asleep. The next moment his hands suddenly clenched tight. Beads of sweat emerged from Lin Chia's temples. His muscles instantly tensed and a soul-deep pain surged through him, his eyes turning bloodshot. At the same time, a voice drifted into his ears. It hurts so much. Humans are truly fragile, so weak that they must use such methods to maintain a possibility of continuation. But what difference does it make? Zhuqing took so many pills, but when I killed him, wasn't his soul completely destroyed? Enduring so much pain in vain. Ultimately just a self-inflicted joke. In the end, you're just a bunch of death-fearing insects, gaining a sense of security through self-torture. Ha ha. Chaos. S voice was full of mockery, seemingly able to trigger the most sensitive nerves in one's heart. At this moment, Lin Chia was fully focused on resisting the pain brought by the pill. If he were distracted even slightly, his blood would flow backward, causing severe self-injury in an instant. But he just quietly leaned against the chair back, continuously adjusting his breathing, fighting the pain deep in his soul, seemingly deaf to chaos's provocations. Seeing that his mental assault had no effect on Lin Chia, seemed to find it boring, clicked his tongue, and then his voice disappeared without a trace. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Chia slowly opened his eyes in the chair. The entire office chair was soaked with sweat and his face was extremely pale. This soul-deep pain couldn't be reduced even by the primordial spirit embryo. He slowly stood up, poured himself a pot of hot tea, and after a few sips, some color returned to his face. He took a deep breath. His tired eyes narrowed slightly and a killing intent swept through the office. God's Mental Hospital. Room number 5. In this bare hospital room, a black man wearing a patient gown was lazily lying on the cold cement floor, casually yawning. Unlike other rooms, this room had no basic facilities including bed, chairs, or even light fixtures. Even the only small window that could receive sunlight had been sealed with cement. The entire room was pitch black. It was more like a prison than a hospital room. With a light sound, the door of the room was slowly opened. A figure in a white coat walked in from outside, hands in pockets, eyes narrowed as he looked down at us, lying on the ground, his face showing no emotion. Recovering quickly, huh? He raised an eyebrow, patted the dust off his body, and was about to stand up. After all these years, you've certainly improved. If it were that young rookie from 4 years ago, he would have already been angered too. Poof. Before Kus could finish, a whistling fist smashed hard into his face. The force of Lin Chia's punch slammed Case directly against the bare wall. His black face instantly distorted and hideous cracks spread continuously inside the wall. Several streaks of crimson blood splattered on Lin Chia's face, but his eyes showed no fluctuation. Before Kus could say anything, another punch smashed into his eye socket. Boom, boom, boom. The entire ward building shook violently several times. Dust billowed out from inside the room. By now, room number 5 had been dyed blood red. The hideous bloodstains were absorbed by the white coat, quickly becoming clean again. Lin Chia lowered his fists. Had collapsed on the ground like a puddle of mud, his twisted mouth still curling upward, his shattered eyeball looking at Lin Chia with mockery. Today's punches are stronger than usual. What's wrong? Angry about something? Let me guess. It's not because of Nix, is it? That poor woman who lost all her children, that gentle mother who once regarded you as everything. Is she dead? Is she still alive? Where is she now? Who made her suffer so much pain again? Oh, right, Olympus. Those damned Greek gods who slaughtered her children, sacrificed her flesh and blood, expelled her from Olympus, and even used dirty, despicable means to leave her fate unknown. Tiskate, can you swallow this anger? Chaos. S voice gradually became shrill. Lin Chia stood before the pool of blood, his eyes slightly narrowed. He stared at us for a long time before calmly speaking. You're that eager to incite me against Olympus? Incite? Oh no. I'm just voicing your inner thoughts. Face in the blood pool chuckled. Besides, revenge stories always make one's blood boil, don't they? What does it have to do with you? Lin Chia expressionlessly grabbed the Kusanagi sword from nothingness. With a flash of cold light, the blade had already pierced the heart in the blood pool. Chaos's body twitched. As the blade twisted, his life force was completely shattered, but that dark face still retained a faint smile. Lin Chia glanced at his corpse, pulled out the Kusanagi sword, wiped the blood off with his white coat, and turned to walk out of the room. Bright sunlight fell across the empty courtyard, and the verdant lawn swayed gently in the wind. The bloodstains on Lin Chia had been completely absorbed by the white coat. He stood alone on the green lawn, took a deep breath, and slowly exhaled. Light flickered in his eyes as he pondered something unknown. After some time he looked back. In front of room number 5 of the ward, a completely intact Fuss, wearing a patient gown, enthusiastically waved at him. Lin Chia's eyes narrowed as he murmured, "Still can't kill him? How exactly does he do it?" Since Us was sealed by Lin Chia in the 5th ward for years have passed. During these 4 years, Lin Chia tried countless methods to kill it completely. The Kusanagi sword, the power of the seraph, forbidden spells. But no matter what method he used, Kiss would always regenerate afterward, then whisper like a demon in his ear all day, constantly searching for his emotional weak points to create a breakthrough and corrupt his mind. Just like when Charles was reporting to him earlier and mentioned the possibility of Nix's death, Kiss immediately gloated in his ear. Haha, your mother is dead. This perfectly timed remark nearly broke through Lin Chia's already anxious and worried state of mind. Although these occasional harassments could hardly produce a qualitative effect on Lin Chia's mental state, during the initial period he was indeed severely tormented. To outsiders he even seemed to become somewhat irritable and neurotic, but as he continuously adjusted himself he gradually got used to it. Chia, you're here? Just then Li Yifei's surprised voice came from nearby. He glanced at the blood on Lin Chia's fist, then at Fizz in the ward. Did you kill it today? I tried, but it still didn't work. Lin Chia shook his head. Did you give it medicine today? Not yet, I was just about to. Li Yifei raised his right hand, tightly gripping a large tea mug that Merlin once used. However, this mug no longer contained tea but was filled with pills and capsules. These pills and capsules varied in color and size, and at a rough glance, there were at least 100 of them, emitting an indescribable smell. This one treats depression, this one treats schizophrenia, this one treats mania, this one treats delusional disorder, this one is for... What was this one for again? Li Yifei carefully counted the pills in the mug. Then after a moment of confusion he simply waved his hand and said, "Never mind, anyway, once all these drugs are poured into it, it will go crazy even if it isn't already. Feeding medicine to us wasn't meant to cure it, but to prevent it from being too healthy. Since they couldn't kill us, they could only approach from another angle, such as loading its body with large amounts of divine mental drugs." Li Yifei hoped that someday he could turn this entity that liked to drive others insane into a genuinely mentally ill patient. Unfortunately, Chaos used some unknown method to resist. Despite Li Yifei's continuous medication, the treatment progress refused to drop. 4 years had passed and it remained stable at 95%. Li Yifei had no other options but to keep increasing the dosage. If the medicines in the prescription couldn't regenerate with his feeding method, the half-year supply would have been used up long ago. Aren't you lonely being alone in this hospital? Why don't I take you out for a few months of good rest? Lin Chia seemed to think of something. Li Yifei's gaze swept across the empty hospital and he couldn't help but sigh. To be honest, since you summoned the other caretakers to the real world to establish the 7th secret department, this hospital has indeed become much quieter. But if I leave, who will watch this for you? Although it's quiet, I enjoy drinking tea, sunbathing and engaging in a battle of wits with that harbinger of death every day. It's actually quite interesting. Lin Chia looked at him deeply. All right, anyway, if you want to go out, just tell me directly. Don't worry, come visit me for drinks when you have time. Lin Chia nodded and his figure disappeared from the hospital. Li Yifei, carrying the mug full of pills, grinned and walked enthusiastically toward the ward. Harbinger of death. Time for your medicine. Kunlun Mountains. Among the snow-capped peaks, a narrow Buddhist temple stood in the cold wind. Judging from the materials, this temple was very new, and the open space in front of the temple had been leveled with cement, appearing to be a structure that had emerged only in the past 2 years. Strangely, there was no Buddha statue inside this temple. Only an empty stone platform and 2 candles flickering in the cold wind. A figure wearing a clay-molded kasaya was slowly sweeping away the accumulated snow in front of the door with a broom. By my calculations, it's about time you arrived. He seemed to sense something, turned his head toward the small path up the mountain and calmly said. Lin Chia, wearing that deep red cloak, climbed the steps. His gaze swept across the snow-free area in front of the temple, and his eyebrows slightly raised. What, did you sweep the snow for me? I swept it for the world. Monk Destiny put down the broom and pointed to a black and white checkered chessboard under the eaves, which had been waiting for a long time. Lin Chia sat down by the chessboard with familiarity and began to examine the game. After a moment he slowly spoke. 4 years and you still haven't answered my question. What? Now how great are humanity's chances of winning in this chess game? Monk Destiny sat down opposite Lin Chia and was about to reach for a chess piece when he heard this question. His finger paused slightly. But then he pretended not to hear and placed a piece on the board. Lin Chia stared into his eyes and continued to press. 4 years ago we had already killed 5 K-system deities, sealed Kus, one of the 3 pillar gods, suppressed the lunar unrest and established the eternal heaven. After all that, how much has humanity's win rate increased? Monk Destiny shook his head. I can't tell you yet. Why? There's no why. When it's time to tell, I will certainly tell you. Seeing this, Lin Chia stopped asking and silently took a chess piece from the board to play against Monk Destiny. After some time, Monk Destiny spoke first. So what brings you to me this time? Didn't you calculate that already? You calculated that I would come. Don't you know why I'm here? I sweep this snow every day in this chess set. I left it here myself last night. Monk Destiny said truthfully. So you didn't know I was coming at all? I can calculate cause and effect and predict the mysteries of heaven, but that doesn't mean I'm a worm in your belly. We are no longer one entity. Lin Chia glanced at him helplessly. So I've been going back and forth with you all this time and you were just pretending? Nix's whereabouts still haven't been found. I'm worried her situation isn't good. Monk Destiny placed a piece. No visible cause and effect, no heavenly mystery. Her situation is indeed special, but shouldn't Lu Wuwei's ability be able to track her? He says he can, but his little electric scooter can't go everywhere, especially to a place that can trap even the highest gods. Monk Destiny looked up at him. You want to go yourself? Lin Chia nodded slightly. You are now the commander-in-chief of the Night Watchers, not the captain of Night Curtain. You need to hold the fort in Great Xia. For matters in the mist, don't we have the 2 special teams, Night and Demon, to share the burden? Destiny Monk shook his head decisively. If necessary, just let Wang Mian go with them. With his abilities he can at least ensure they return alive. I've already done that, but I'm still worried. Lin Chia paused for a moment. Besides, it's time we properly settle our score with Olympus. You want to make a move against Olympus? That's right. Hearing Lin Chia's straightforward response, Destiny Monk frowned slightly but didn't respond directly. Is it, he asked. Any news about Qingyu and those Cthulhu gods? No. My angel avatar has been monitoring the mist from Earth's atmosphere but hasn't detected their movements. For 4 years they've vanished without a trace. They can't have disappeared. They must be hiding somewhere we don't know about, secretly plotting something. Olympus isn't much of a threat to us, and those outer gods wandering in the mist even less so. What we truly fear are the Cthulhu deities hiding in the shadows. If the mist is a mountain, then Olympus and those outer gods are the snakes, insects, tigers and leopards perched on it. No one knows if behind them stands a hunter with a rifle, waiting for the right moment. But to face the hunter directly, we must first clear away those troublemakers, right? Lin Chia said gravely. If we don't eliminate these creatures, who knows when they might turn and bite us. As long as they exist, we can never truly operate freely. Moreover, there's the black goat that can corrupt gods. If we don't hunt the gods preemptively, they'll eventually become cannon fodder for the Cthulhu forces. Destiny Monk lowered his head, staring at the chessboard as if calculating something. Lin Chia picked up a white piece and placed it at a certain point in the complex battle, instantly capturing a cluster of black pieces, clearing an area on the board. In terms of calculation ability, I'm far inferior to you, but sometimes excessive caution can put one in a passive position. The god hunting plan is my way of probing the chess game of the mist using Great Xia's power. We've already hunted 9 gods consecutively without drawing out the opponent hiding in the depths of the game, which means they have more patience than us. If that's the case, we might as well quickly clear away those troublesome creatures. First, it eliminates future threats. Second, it prevents them from using these pawns against us. And third, it forces the real player to reveal themselves. Your method could indeed work, though it seems somewhat aggressive. Destiny Monk said hesitantly after contemplating for a long time. How about we take a middle path? What do you mean? Since your god hunting plan is meant to shake the mountain to scare the tiger, let's use our full strength to shake it once more before we enter the mountain. Shake it once more? You mean hunt another god? That would be too gentle. We need to let all the gods in the mist know what we're planning to do, causing those creatures to panic, forcing the true opponent in the mist to actively reveal themselves. So basically we need to make a big scene. Lin Chia narrowed his eyes as if seriously contemplating something. After a moment a gleam flashed in his eyes. I know what to do now. Beijing City. Squad 006 headquarters. So this is the Night Watchers base in Beijing. It's actually a traditional courtyard house? 2 new recruits followed behind a night watcher, scanning the courtyard with excitement in their eyes. This location this size must be worth over 100 million, right? Senior Su Liao, is our squad that wealthy? Su Liao, walking ahead of the 2 recruits, smiled. Where would we get that kind of money? This courtyard was already Squad 006's base before Beijing's land prices skyrocketed. Back then, property here was quite cheap and headquarters assigned it to us directly. It has about 100 years of history now. The night watchers who have come and gone through here are probably more than you'll meet in your lifetime. The 2 recruits nodded with partial understanding. You 2 were among the best in this year's training camp, but that title doesn't mean much in Squad 006. You still need to stay humble and learn well from the captain, understand? Understood. One recruit nodded firmly, then seemed to remember something. Senior Su Liao, where's our captain? The captain is inside reviewing documents. Su Liao pointed to a study deep within the courtyard. Our Captain Chen is not only the leader of Beijing's Squad 006 but also the director of the Night Watchers Human Resources Department. Except for special teams, all Night Watcher squads within Great Xia are under his command. He's one of the 7 top executives. The 2 recruits opened their mouths in shock. That impressive? Yes, so he's very busy with work. Try not to disturb him unless necessary. Before Su Liao could finish, the study door opened and a man wearing a military coat walked out. Seeing the 2 new recruits behind Su Liao, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Miao Xingyuan, Mao Qingxiao? Captain. The 2 recruits immediately stood at attention. Captain, you know us? Of course, I'm the one who transferred you here. Qin Han chuckled, patting their shoulders with his white-gloved hand. Su Liao, show them around first. I need to attend a meeting at headquarters. Su Liao was surprised. Didn't we just have the executive meeting the day before yesterday? It's not a regular meeting. The commander has called an emergency meeting that all 7 directors must attend. Emergency meetings are rare. You better go then. I'll take care of them. Su Liao nodded repeatedly. Qin Han reached into the void and grabbed something. A black horse wreathed in ghostly flames appeared beneath his feet. With a light kick of his boots, he mounted the horse in the next moment. He gently pulled the reins and both man and horse vanished from the courtyard like specters. "See, Senior Su Liao." One recruit pointed in the direction Qin Han had disappeared, stammering, "Captain Qin, he is." "Relax," Su Liao shrugged. "He's just the pinnacle of humanity. The captain took that step last year." Qin Han rode the netherworld black horse silently through Beijing's streets. People around him seemed unable to see him. When he stopped again, he was already at the headquarters building. He waved his hand to dismiss the horse, quickly went upstairs, and when he pushed open the conference room door, 5 figures were already seated neatly around the round table. "Sorry I'm late." Qin Han sat in her seat with an apologetic smile. "It's fine, there are still a few minutes before the meeting starts." Xiaopinga looked at the other side of the round table. "Besides, we're still missing one person. He just called me and said he's with the commander. They should arrive together." Wu Laogo, wearing a black cloak, sat on the other side and spoke slowly. After Lin Chia was promoted to commander-in-chief, he reorganized the original 6 departments into 7, and the vacant position of Special Operations Department Director should have been filled by the former Mask team leader Wang Mian, but he was recently assigned to a mission in the mist, so medium team leader Wu Laogo temporarily took his place. "So what's the emergency meeting about?" Yuan Gang, the director of the Materials Management Department, asked puzzlingly. Don't know. Let's wait for the commander to arrive. About 3 minutes later, the conference room door was finally pushed open. Walking in front was the 7th commander of the Dachau Night Watchers, Lin Chia. Behind him was Wu Quan, the director of the Special Secret Department, established 4 years ago. This brand new department was one of Lin Chia's major initiatives after taking office. Despite being called the Special Secret Department, it was actually a special department dedicated to deploying mysteries. Except for Wu Quan, all department members were mysteries. A large portion of them were originally caretakers from the God's mental hospital. Since there were no patients in the hospital except for us, these caretakers had nothing to do, so Lin Chia simply had his seraph avatar summon them all out. Of course, maintaining the summoning magic for hundreds of caretakers required a large amount of divine power, so Lin Chia usually kept the seraph avatar in space in a dormant state, only activating it in emergencies. As for the remaining members of the department, they were mysteries, controlled by Wu Quan's Emperor's Dominion. In this world, besides Lin Chia, only he could manage a department composed of so many mysteries at once, making him the natural choice for this director position. Since the establishment of the Special Secret Department, Wu Quan had been continuously deploying mysteries throughout Dachau to help local night watcher teams in difficulty against indigenous mysteries, achieving a fight fire with fire effect. This revolutionary measure greatly relieved the pressure on night watchers in various cities and reduced the workload of special teams. Because of this, Lin Chia was able to spare the night and demon teams to jointly fulfill the responsibility of exploring the mist. After Wu Quan took his seat at the round table, all 7 leaders of the night watchers were present. Xiaopinga, Yuan Gang, Chen Han, Wu Quan, Wu Laogo. Among the 7, 5 were familiar faces, while the other 2 were veteran corps members who had followed former commanders Yi Fan and Zhui Qing very reliable, and they were now the top power of the night watchers. Commander Lin, why did you call us here? Is there an emergency? One of the veterans asked impatiently. I plan to hold an event. What kind of event? Lin Chia's gaze swept across everyone and he spoke word by word. The God Hunting Festival. Songnan City Peace Affairs Office. God Hunting Festival? Hearing these words, Red Ribbon's eyes showed confusion. What's that? According to this notice, it's a festival specially held to celebrate humans hunting a cumulative total of 9 gods. The time is 3 days from now at Chenan Gate. Each night watcher team with 5 or fewer members is required to send 1 person to attend, while teams with more than 5 members need to send 2, with priority given to those with less experience. After reading the contents of the notice, Wen Chima's expression was somewhat strange. Celebrating hunting 9 gods, and specifically holding a festival? This doesn't seem like Seven's style, does it? What's wrong with it? Red Ribbon's eyes lit up. It's a festival. The Night Watchers haven't held any festivals in nearly 10 years, not even large team-building events. It's been so boring. Seven thinking of holding a festival is looking out for the Night Watchers' welfare. When Chimo rubbed his chin thoughtfully. That's indeed true. For so many years, each Night Watcher team has only operated in their own cities, rarely encountering such collective activities. Occasionally holding one would benefit overall cohesion. Chima. I want to quit Team 136. Red Ribbon declared firmly. When Chimo rolled his eyes and said irritably, give it a rest. Even if you applied to quit now and I recruited you back, you still wouldn't count as a newcomer. We definitely won't be able to attend this festival. Red Ribbon let out a miserable cry and slumped dejectedly on the table, as if her soul had left her body. If you want to go that badly, why not just call Seven? He's the commander-in-chief now. Arranging an extra spot for us would be simple, wouldn't it? When Chima suggested. That won't work. Seven is the commander-in-chief after all. Always asking him for special treatment would affect his authority. Red Ribbon immediately rejected this proposal. Her gaze turned to the other young people. After much hesitation, she reluctantly said, let's give this opportunity to the young ones. When Chimo nodded. Our team now has 7 members and we need to send 2 people to attend. Jashashashin Xiaoyi, you 2 go. At this moment, a pair of 17 or 18-year-old teenagers, a boy and a girl, looked up in confusion. Us? Yes. When Chima said matter-of-factly. One of you joined last year as a newcomer and the other just graduated from the training camp this year as a new recruit. You 2 are perfect for this. Red Ribbon blinked and leaned close to Wen Chima's ear, whispering. Shasha is timid and Xiaoyi is shy and afraid of strangers. Are you sure they'll be fine by themselves at such a big event? That's exactly why they need this experience. Wen Chima said seriously. Besides, 7 is the commander now. With him there, are you still worried about them? That's true. Red Ribbon nodded and suddenly remembered something. She hurriedly took several large bags of dumplings from the refrigerator and placed them in front of Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi. I almost forgot, I specially made these dumplings for 7 during last year's New Year and kept them. You can take them to him at the festival. Tell him to come back and eat with us when he has time. Red Ribbon said, dusting off her hands. Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi exchanged glances and cautiously asked. Sister Red Ribbon. Who exactly is this 7 you're talking about? He's the current commander-in-chief of the Night Watchers, Lin Chia. Red Ribbon replied as if it were obvious. The innocent and confused young pair looked at the mountain of frozen dumplings in front of them, completely thunderstruck. Half an hour later. Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi carried 2 heavy packages, looking at Red Ribbon who was enthusiastically saying goodbye to them in front of the station, with expressions that seemed on the verge of tears. Shasha, Xiaoyi, remember to find 7 knights and bring him the dumplings, Red Ribbon shouted at the top of her lungs. Bye-bye, call if anything comes up. Jia Shasha, oh, waving. Brother Shasha, what should we do? As soon as they entered the station, young Zhen Xiaoyi spoke with a tearful voice. That's the commander-in-chief of the Night Watchers. We're just 2 newly graduated rookies. Even if we go to the ceremony, how could we possibly meet him? Sigh. Jia Shasha adjusted the backpack full of frozen dumplings, saying dejectedly, let's just take it 1 step at a time. After a while, let's switch backpacks. I'll cool down the dumplings. Don't let them thaw on the way. Zhen Xiaoyi seemed to remember something and patted the backpack, sending a chill into it to maintain the temperature of the frozen dumplings. Let's talk on the train, it's about to leave. The 2 took their tickets and boarded the green-skinned train heading to Beijing. Only there would they find special boats to take them to the celebration venue at Shenlong Pass. Since it was a last-minute notification, they couldn't get seats and could only sit on the floor by the carriage door, each hugging a package. Looking at the flickering tree shadows outside the window, the hearts of this young boy and girl were filled with worry. Commander-in-Chief's office. After preliminary discussions, our tentatively scheduled performances include the dance Forest Rhapsody by the 198th Squad stationed in Zishuangbana, the recitation Me and My Beijing by the 006th Squad stationed in Beijing, and the chorus Shining Metals Guide My Way, performed by 9 Night Watcher squads from Huaihai City, Suzhou City, Changxi City and others. In addition, that Phoenix Squad will represent special units with a play titled The Life I Yearn For. Secretary Min Junliang finished reading the program list carefully and looked up at Lin Chia behind the desk. These are the confirmed performances so far. Commander Lin, do you have anything to add? Lin Chia sat behind his desk, rubbing the light stubble on his chin with his right hand, his eyebrows slightly raised. What was the Phoenix Squad's performance called again? The Life I Yearn For. That theme isn't good. Have them change it. Alright, what should it be changed to? Let's call it, I Love Work, Work Loves Me. No problem. Min Junliang carefully noted down the new theme and continued. As per your instructions, most of the Night Watchers attending this meeting are newly graduated rookies, and reception preparations are already underway. Good, and what about the Mist? We've communicated with the Upper Evil Association. Through their intelligence network, we've released news of our god-hunting celebration. I heard those foreign gods hiding in the mist are quite angry, but there's no word of any significant movements. Has the border defense been withdrawn? Yes, Shinlong Pass is located near the eastern border. Once the celebration begins with fireworks and music, it will definitely be heard in the mist. That's good. Lin Chia nodded slightly, then added after a moment. Before the celebration begins, ease up a bit on the verification of participants. Just go through the motions. Focus more effort on the programs and venue decoration. It must be festive and grand. Yes, Commander. Min Junliang noted down Lin Chia's instructions and hurriedly left to make arrangements. Lin Chia stood up from his chair and slowly walked to the window. In the glass reflection, the figure of Destiny Monk with palms pressed together emerged from behind the office screen, two identical faces overlapping in the reflection. The celebration has begun, he murmured. Beijing Railway Station. Zhen Xiaoyi walked out of the exit carrying a heavy backpack, her small face turning pale at the sight of the rushing crowd, and she quietly shrank behind Jia Shasha. Jia Shasha took her wrist and comforted her. It's okay, we'll be out soon. Jia Shasha protected Zhen Xiaoyi as they squeezed through the crowd. When they finally reached the square outside, both sighed in relief. Zhen Xiaoyi wiped the sweat from her forehead, her gaze sweeping around before pointing to a bus with Beijing 3 days 7 nights tour group advertisement, saying softly, "Is that the one?" Jia Shasha took out a photo from his pocket and compared it carefully. Yes, it's the same as the one in the notice. That's it. The two quickened their pace and walked directly to the tour bus. A figure dressed as a tour guide was leaning by the door and gave them a casual glance. Sorry, the tour group is full. We're only attending the night session. Jia Shasha recited the code phrase from the notice. The tour guide examined them carefully, nodded slightly and took out a list. Which squad are you from? Songnan City 136 Squad, Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi. Alright, get on board. The two boarded the bus and found 5 or 6 people already seated, presumably night watchers from various parts of Daxia coming to attend the celebration. They were about the same age and everyone exchanged nods and greeting. I see classmates from my training camp batch, Zhen Xiaoyi whispered to Jia Shasha after sitting down. Why don't you go say hello? I don't dare. I wasn't close with them at the training camp. Then forget it. Better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Have the dumplings in your bag thawed? I don't know. Why don't you check? No way. There are so many people on this bus. It would be embarrassing if people saw us carrying 2 big bags of dumplings from Songnan. Then give me your bag, I'll cool it down first. After hesitating for a moment, Jia Shasha exchanged backpacks with Zhen Xiaoyi. As time passed, more and more night watchers boarded the bus. After another half hour, the vehicle slowly started moving toward the end of the road. Jia Shasha, you're here too? An excited voice came from behind Jia Shasha. Jia Shasha turned around to see a former training camp classmate sitting behind him. Yeah, what a coincidence. I've met so many familiar faces on this trip. Hey, your bag is so bulky, what's in it? Nothing much, just some daily necessities. Jia Shasha hugged the backpack tightly, a cold chill seeping out from inside, making him shiver slightly. When we graduated before, we said we might never see each other again. Unexpectedly, it's only been 2 years and we're meeting again. The classmate tactfully didn't ask more questions but instead mused, I heard this celebration is going to be huge. Not just us but also those special squads, and even the human pinnacle and Commander Lin will be there. Upon hearing the words Commander Lin, Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi's hearts skipped a beat. Have you ever met Commander Lin? Jia Shasha asked. How could I possibly have met the commander? The classmate spread his hands helplessly. But I've heard that Commander Lin is extremely fierce. Fierce? The two turned pale. Yes. He looked around and lowered his voice. I heard this Commander Lin was an absolute genius from a young age, and has grown to where he is now by spilling the blood of countless gods. He can shatter mountains with a punch, split seas with a sword, and with just one glance he can force millions to kneel. Zhen Xiaoyi was shocked, his mouth hanging open. Really? Is that true? Of course it's true. Do you think someone who proposed the god-hunting plan, and actively hunts deities could be a nice person? For all these years, no outer gods have dared to attack Great Xia in the mist because they're terrified of his murderous aura. Just think about it, a person who even gods fear, how fierce must he be? Hearing this, Zhen Xiaoyi and Jia Shasha's faces turned completely pale. In their minds, they automatically pictured a blood-covered, ferocious man, holding a sword in one hand and a deity's severed head in the other, tearing at it with his teeth, crushing the god's skull to pieces and snarling at them. Dumplings? If they're not filled with god meat, this commander won't eat them. Zhen Xiaoyi looked at Jia Shasha with tearful eyes, as if he might start crying at any moment. You. Jia Shasha trembled for a long time, unable to say a word, feeling as if he'd fallen into an icy pit. What's wrong with you two? And nothing. After getting rid of that classmate, Jia Shasha put down the backpack that was emanating a cold aura, his back already soaked with cold sweat. What do we do now? Should we send a message to Sister Hongying saying we're not going? Zhen Xiaoyi asked, his face ashen. No, we can't. If we can't even complete such a simple task, what kind of night watchers would we be? Brother Shasha, when did you become so brave? Don't you usually get so scared you can't move when facing mysteries? Commander Lin is 10,000 times more terrifying than any mystery. Jia Shasha took a deep breath, a hint of determination appearing in his eyes. No matter how terrifying, he's still our commander. He won't harm us. That's true. As they were talking, the bus slowly stopped at the dock and everyone quickly got off, following the guide toward a ship. At the boarding stairs, a figure wearing logistics staff uniform was verifying the identities of all night watchers boarding the ship. He was a man in his mid-20s, handsome and refined, yet possessing a steadiness that didn't match his age. Standing before the sparkling sea, he wore a smile that made people feel very comfortable. When it was Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi's turn, the man spoke gently. Hello. Hello, the two politely replied. Please show your identification documents. Jia Shasha handed the stamped documents of Squad 136 to the man, who scanned them and raised an eyebrow slightly. You're from Tsangnan? Yes. The man nodded and pointed to the backpacks they were carrying. You don't need to bring so many dumplings. There will be food at the venue. You won't go hungry. Hearing this, both their faces turned red. After hesitating for a moment, Jia Shasha spoke softly. These aren't for us to eat. Our squad leader asked us to bring them as a gift for Commander Lin. The man made a slight sound of surprise. Hongying asked you to deliver them? You know our squad leader? I do. Learning that this staff member knew Hongying, Jia Shasha felt much more at ease. Sister Hongying specially saved these for Commander Lin during the new year and asked us to deliver them on our way. But we're worried. What are you worried about? He's not going to eat you. The man smiled. After you enter the venue, look for someone wearing a deep red cloak. That's Commander Lin. Just go up to him and hand them over. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. The man patted their shoulders gently. Good kids, get on board. Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi boarded the ship. The latter looked back at the man once more and let out a long breath. What is it? Jia Shasha asked. I just felt that staff member gave off such a comfortable feeling. Zhen Xiaoyi hugged the heavy backpack, standing in the bright sunlight, his delicate brows relaxing. Suddenly I feel that Commander Lin might not be so scary after all. Yeah. Jia Shasha seemed to remember something. Oh right, I forgot to ask his name. Otherwise we could have asked Sister Hongying who he was when we got back. Jia Shasha looked back, but the boarding area was already empty. The rumbling sound of the ship's horn sounded, and the vessel cut through the blue water, heading straight toward Chenlongwen. Below the surging sea surface, two ghostly figures silently flew out. They landed lightly on the stern deck of the ship, their forms flickering and vanishing into thin air. When they reappeared, they were already in an empty storage room. The intelligence was correct. The border defenses of Great Xia have indeed become quite lax recently. It seems their consecutive successful god hunts have made them swell with arrogance to the point of recklessness. The man with long dark green hair and typical Western features snorted coldly. "We made so many preparations and didn't need to use any of them," said the other man, who had dark skin and dirty, messy braids. "Our appearances are still too conspicuous. Turk, where's that thing?" The black man called Turk took out a handful of powder from his pocket and lightly sprinkled it. Instantly, both their forms became hazy, and within seconds, they had transformed into two flawless Great Xia citizens. Behind them, they even had two dark red cloaks identical to those worn by the Night Watchers. "This treasure from Lord Poseidon can only last for 3 hours, but that should be enough for this celebration," Kira said, flexing his new body with a slight smile. He pushed open the storage room door and he and Turk walked confidently onto the deck. By now many Night Watchers were chatting on the deck. They glanced at the two newcomers, but no one noticed anything unusual. There were now hundreds of Night Watchers on this ship, so even if these two appeared out of nowhere, no one would notice. Turk's gaze swept around, seeing groups of young Night Watchers gathered together, excitedly discussing the god-hunting festival. A look of mockery appeared in his eyes. "They say the Night Watchers of Great Xia are thorny and difficult to deal with. But now I see they're just a bunch of children with nothing but hot blood and ideals. Indeed, if they're only at this level, I alone could kill all the Night Watchers on this ship," Kira spoke leisurely. "According to intelligence, those attending this event are supposed to be the backbone of the Night Watchers. How ridiculous." Turk thought for a moment. "Is it possible they gave us false intelligence? You mean they spread rumors that their core members would come but actually sent rookies? Why would they do that? To attract us here, then send a bunch of novices to make it easier for us to slaughter them." Per paused. "Regardless, the age and strength of these children can't be faked. Once we make our move, we'll definitely teach the Night Watchers a bloody lesson." Turk thought about it and realized this made sense. Claiming publicly that core members would attend, but actually sending rookies, could indeed make them underestimate the situation. But this would also make killing them easier. Weighing the two options, clearly the Night Watchers would be at a disadvantage. "By the way, I heard we're not the only group coming?" Turk seemed to remember something. "Probably not." Kira narrowed his eyes, glancing around discreetly. "Not just us from Olympus, but Divine Paradise and Hidden God also received the information. Who knows how many Night Watchers on this ship have been replaced by them? In that case, we're in for quite a show." The silhouette of Shenlong Pass approached on the horizon, and the many young Night Watchers on the ship rushed to the bow, gazing at the magnificent silver-white city with faces full of reverence and longing. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. From atop the silver-white city walls, countless fireworks soared into the clouds, colorful lights bursting continuously in the sky, as if welcoming their arrival. Then joyful music played through speakers, echoing across the sea. It was a melodious and enchanting instrumental sound that seemed to possess an invisible magic, continuously tugging at everyone's heartstrings. Under the overlay of fireworks and music, the young Night Watchers cheered. This was their exclusive celebration. Even Jia Shasha and Jin Xiaoyi, standing at the edge of the crowd, stared open-mouthed at the fireworks filling the sky. This was their first time witnessing such a grand spectacle. "I didn't realize this event was so grand," Jin Xiaoyi murmured. "It's a shame Sister Hongying and the others couldn't come. If she saw this, she'd probably be overjoyed." As the ship gradually approached Shenlong Pass, the heavy city gate slowly opened. After crossing the open waters, the vessel finally docked at the central berth. The Night Watchers followed the guidance through the inner wall, and a magnificent city appeared before their eyes. Buzzing helicopters circled above Shenlong Pass, with each group of several helicopters suspending a massive cross below. The corpses of deities were bound to these divine corpse frames, and under the guidance of staff, they were secured to the highest points of the city walls. These were the core of this festival, and the results of humanity's god-hunting achievements over the past 4 years. Many Night Watchers stood beneath the city walls, gazing at the 9 enormous divine corpses, momentarily forgetting to enter the city. Even as mere remains, they still emanated terrifying pressure, representing beings utterly beyond the reach of these rookies. They stared at these divine bodies, seemingly unable to imagine what methods could possibly kill such terrifying deities. Of course, in contrast, Turk and Kira, hiding among the crowd, wore somewhat gloomy expressions. Among these 9 divine corpses were several familiar faces from Olympus, though this didn't really matter to them as proxies. What they feared were the humans capable of killing these gods. Would those people also come to this festival today? Under the guidance of Shenlong Pass staff, the Night Watchers entered the city, discovering that besides cold large-scale military equipment, it was also filled with free barbecue stalls. Flags bearing the Night Watchers emblem fluttered throughout the fortress, and lively vendor calls rose and fell. There's still an hour before the official ceremony begins. During this time, please feel free to move around and sample the food. The central stage will soon have festival performances that you can watch. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask us, the staff member said politely. Seeing this, the young Night Watchers didn't stand on ceremony and immediately dispersed, curiously beginning to tour the war fortress. Jia Shasha and Jin Xiaoyi, however, had no interest in wandering around. They hadn't yet completed the most important task of their visit, and they couldn't relax until they delivered the dumplings they were carrying. What do you think? Should we split up? Wouldn't that be too dangerous? Let's search together. This is Shenlong Pass, what danger could there be? Jia Shasha shook her head, but seeing Jin Xiaoyi's worried eyes, she said, let's stay together. Getting separated would just cause problems. Okay. The two carried their heavy backpacks, walking in a certain direction, their gazes carefully scanning the surroundings, searching for a figure in a deep red cloak. A moment later, music suddenly started playing at the central stage, attracting the attention of a group of Night Watchers. 2 formally dressed Night Watchers holding small cards stood at the center of the stage and smiled as they spoke. Welcome everyone to our God Hunting Festival. Next, please enjoy today's first program, a play brought to you by the Phoenix team titled, I Love Work, Work Loves Me. Upon hearing the words Phoenix team, the Night Watchers below immediately became excited, applauding frantically. Most of them were newcomers who had just joined the Night Watchers recently. To them, the special teams symbolized mysterious existences of strength and glory. Finally having the chance to see a special team in person, they were naturally full of anticipation. As the stage lights dimmed and gradually brightened again, a zombie-like figure in agony twisted out from backstage. Her body was bound with iron chains, her face gaunt with dark circles under her eyes, looking as if she had been overworked to the point of imminent death. Above her head were the bright red characters for work, and as she walked, she both laughed and cried like a madwoman. I love work. Work loves me. Ah. I love work. I love work. All Night Watchers, Sigma, winky face. When they saw the crazy Xia Siming on stage, all the Night Watchers in the audience froze in place. This special squad seemed quite different from what they had imagined. Although it started with a thunderbolt, this didn't hinder the subsequent plot development. The zombie that kept shouting, I love work, work loves me, was quickly defeated by the descending Phoenix squad. After a moving and heroic story, that Phoenix squad finally defeated the 7 Demon Kings, and lived the life they had longed for. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. These Xia programs feel kind of weird, Turk couldn't help but comment. That's not important. Kira's eyes remained fixed on Xia Siming. These people are quite skilled, probably the top forces among the Night Watchers. We should pay special attention to them later. As the Phoenix squad's performance ended, the host walked onto the stage with a smile. Next, please enjoy the recitation Me and My Beijing, presented by the 006 squad stationed in Beijing. Upon hearing it was a recitation program, the audience immediately lost interest, and within moments half of them had dispersed. Turk checked the time and said in a deep voice, It's about time to send the message. Kira frowned, vigilantly scanning the surroundings. Not yet. The human ceiling and human deity haven't all arrived. Wait until we confirm their appearance before sending. You're right. This recitation is terrible. Let's go somewhere else. There's an observation tower on that wall. We should be able to see the entire Shenlong Pass from there. Let's keep watch from there. All right. Meanwhile, Brother Shasha, we've been walking around here for so long, why haven't we found Commander Lin yet? Zhen Xiaoyi rubbed her eyes. The city full of dark red cloaks was making her dizzy, and she couldn't find a single deep red one among them. Is it possible? Commander Lin hasn't arrived yet. He wondered. That makes sense. Important figures always appear last. Zhen Xiaoyi hugged her backpack tightly and sighed, feeling slightly disappointed. There's an observation tower over there. Let's go take a look. Jia Shasha looked up toward the top of the city wall. If Commander Lin arrives, we'll be the first to know. Okay. The two of them, carrying their backpacks, climbed round after round of stairs inside the city wall, finally reaching the highest observation tower of Shenlong Pass. Looking into the distance from here, they could clearly see the towering misty wall standing firm, dividing the sea and sky. Before it, these two young people felt for the first time as insignificant as ants. How magnificent, Zhen Xiaoyi murmured, gazing at the surging misty wall before her. So this is the miracle wall our instructors talked about? Jia Shasha stood at the edge of the observation deck, looking toward the border, his heart filled with awe. When will we be qualified to stand here and guard Dxia's borders? First, you need to be able to see the mysteries, without running away in fear. I know. I'm not like that anymore. As they were talking, a helicopter quickly cut through the clouds, arriving above the helipad of Shenlong Pass and slowly descending. A figure wearing a deep red cloak with a saber at the waist, slowly walked down from the aircraft, immediately attracting the attention of many night watchers. He's here. Commander Lin is here. Jia Shasha exclaimed. Let's go. Zhen Xiaoyi clutched her backpack tightly, and the two quickly headed down from the observation tower. The view from this observation tower is indeed excellent. Turk leaned against the edge of the tower, gazing into the distance. You can't see scenery like this in the mist. No wonder so many divine nations wanted to destroy Dxia back then, Kira said leisurely. They seem to have arrived. The two turned to look and saw a helicopter buzzing down from the sky. A figure in a deep red cloak walked out, followed by several high-ranking night watchers. Kira narrowed his eyes, carefully examining the figure in the deep red cloak walking at the front. Yes, it's Lin Chia. Several helicopters followed closely behind, landing one after another on the helipad. Various figures emerged and walked directly toward the celebration venue. Silent Angel Shin Qingzhu, Mind God Wu Tongxian, Human Sealing Lu Wei, Master Qin Guanzai, Yili Longbai, Xiaopinga Qin Han Wuquan. Except for the sword immortal Zhou Ping, who is in closed cultivation to break through to the highest realm, and one other human sealing, all of Dxia's top combat forces have assembled. Which sealing is missing? Not sure. I've heard that Dxia now has 8 sealings besides Commander Lin. The last one has always been very mysterious. Kira pondered for a moment, then shook his head. It doesn't matter. One sealing can't make much of a difference. Send the message quickly. Okay. Turk made a gesture in the void, and a hidden gray light pierced through nothingness, shooting directly toward the outside of the mist. Having done this, both Kira and Turk relaxed. Looking at the many night watchers gathering below, their eyes revealed mockery. God-hunting celebration. These Dxia people will eventually pay the price for their arrogance. At the celebration venue, a deep red figure stepped onto the red carpet. The crackling sound of ceremonial cannons erupted on both sides. Amidst the flying ribbons, Commander Lin's expression remained calm and serene. Commander Lin, this way please. The staff of Shenlong Pass led everyone directly toward the celebration. He nodded without speaking. Between those profound eyes, an indescribable powerful aura constantly swept the surroundings. As the deep red cloak floated by, Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi's palms were already covered in sweat. Brother Shasha, Commander Lin's presence is so intimidating. Zhen Xiaoyi lowered her head, not even daring to look at him, and whispered. Jia Shasha swallowed. His situation wasn't much better than Zhen Xiaoyi's. His hand gripping the backpack was already white from the force, but he still gritted his teeth and resolutely said, "Didn't we come all this way for this moment? We can't disappoint Sister Hongying and the others. Let's go." He grabbed Jin Xiaoyi's hand, took a deep breath and strode out from the crowd, walking directly toward Commander Lin. "Hello, can I help you?" Before they could reach Commander Lin, a staff member stopped them outside the red carpet and asked sternly, I'm looking for Commander Lin. If you want to see Commander Lin, you can make an appointment with headquarters. Right now is the entrance phase of the celebration. You cannot." Jia Shasha watched as the deep red figure gradually moved away. He gritted his teeth and shouted loudly, "Commander Lin." The deep red figure slowly came to a stop. When that figure turned around, Jia Shasha couldn't help but lower her head again, not daring to look up at him. "You?" The staff member seemed surprised that this young person had shouted directly, and was about to explain something to that person when a figure walked over. Commander Lin looked down at the silent young boy and girl and spoke calmly. "What is it?" Under that calm presence, Jia Shasha lowered her head even more, saying softly, I have something to give you." "What is it?" Jia Shasha immediately handed forward her sweat-soaked backpack, and Jin Xiaoyi beside her did the same. Glancing at the two backpacks before him, Commander Lin frowned slightly as if pondering something. "Who asked you to deliver these?" "Our captain, Red Tassel." "Red Tassel?" Commander Lin's eyes narrowed. "Yes. These are dumplings she made for you for the new year. She asked us to bring them to you on our way. And also she says you should come home to eat more often when you have time." Jia Shasha gathered her courage and delivered Red Tassel's message in one breath, then bowed deeply. "Sorry for disturbing you, Commander Lin. We'll leave now." As she finished speaking, she grabbed Jin Xiaoyi and hurriedly turned to run away. "Stop." A voice came from behind and they halted. Jia Shasha's heart jumped to her throat. At that moment she realized what she had just done, actively intercepting the formidable commander-in-chief, and publicly telling him to come home to eat more often. Sweat slid down her cheeks as she wished she could find a hole to crawl into. Commander Lin walked slowly to their side. That face, seemingly devoid of any emotion, hesitated for a moment, but eventually curved into a slight smile, his voice somewhat gentler. "Thank you for making this trip. Please thank Red Tassel for me." Jia Shasha was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly replied, "Yes. No, it's no trouble." Commander Lin nodded slightly and turned to continue walking toward the celebration venue, with many night watchers, high-ranking officials following silently behind him. Watching these figures leave, Jia Shasha and Jin Xiaoyi finally breathed a sigh of relief. "We finally completed it." Jia Shasha collapsed on the ground, looking physically and mentally exhausted. "Commander Lin may be cold, but he doesn't seem as fierce as the rumors say. Don't you think, Xiaoyi?" "Xiaoyi." Jia Shasha looked back, only to see Jin Xiaoyi staring puzzledly into the distance, murmuring, "Strange. Why does Commander Lin's face seem familiar, like I've seen him somewhere before?" As the last performance ended, the official countdown on the wall was about to finish, and many night watchers gathered toward the center of the venue. At this moment, 9 metal frames with divine corpses nailed to them had all been suspended at the edge of the silver-white city wall. The sea breeze blew their blood-stained garments, making the wounds carved on the divine corpses even more shocking. On the city wall, 7 high-ranking directors of the Night Watchers, uniformly wearing dark red cloaks, slowly stopped in front of the 9 divine corpses. This was the first time for all the young Night Watchers present to see the legendary high-ranking officials. These 7 people, some old, some young, did not conceal the fluctuations of their realms. Among the 7, 3 emitted the aura of human ceiling-level power, and 1 exuded divine pressure covering the sky. These auras tore apart the remaining divine might on the 9 corpses. With their backs to the sun above the gray mist, they seemed to divide light and shadow. This scene was deeply imprinted in the hearts of all young Night Watchers, making their blood boil. They were filled with admiration for those 7 figures, and for a long time to come, this scene would be a source of confidence and motivation for them. Just as everyone was in awe of these 7 figures, a deep red figure stepped on nothingness, walking from the city toward those 7 figures. He was a calm and profound young man. On the hilt of his sword, a golden imprint of the character 7 gleamed in the sunlight. He passed through those 9 divine corpses, the strong wind making his cloak flutter loudly, his eyes seemingly without a trace of emotional fluctuation, just calmly gazing at the misty wall in the distance. He slowly stopped in front of the 7 Night Watchers' high officials and turned to look at the people inside the pass. "I am the 7th Commander-in-Chief of the Night Watchers, Lin Chia." His deep voice echoed within the pass. "I declare the God-hunting festival officially begins." Northern border of Great Xia. Boom. A dazzling red light streaked across the sky, crashing down among the snow-capped mountains. The surging divine might blew the snowflakes up into the air, and a huge divine shadow stood up, holding a giant axe, his eyes extremely sharp. "A bunch of ants, just because they killed a few weak gods they've become so arrogant. If you dare to hunt gods you must be prepared to pay the price." He snorted coldly, looking toward the direction of the nearest human city. A divine light lit up under his feet and his figure flew out again. Southern border. Mist. 2 ghostly figures rose from beneath the sea surface. Through the grayish-white mist, a coastline could be vaguely seen in the distance. "Kira has confirmed that all of Great Xia's top combat forces are attending the god-hunting festival. Just because they killed a few gods they've become so arrogant," one of the figures shrouded in divine light spoke grimly. "Without Great Xia's divine protection, what do they think they are? The venue for the god-hunting festival is at Shunlong Pass on the eastern border. Even if they want to rush back it will take some time. Since they want to celebrate hunting gods, let's slaughter a few human cities to add to their festivities." The other deity's voice was extremely deep. "Have people from Divine Desire Paradise and Hidden God arrived? They're just a bunch of remnants from various divine countries, stray dogs banding together for stability. Where's their sense of honor? They're probably somewhere in the mist right now waiting to watch the show. Ignore them. Ares in the north has probably already made his move. Let's speed up and catch them off guard." Good. 2 surges of divine power erupted from within them. Just as they were about to charge through the misty border, a voice leisurely sounded from above them. "Who are you planning to catch off guard?" The 2 Greek gods suddenly halted, looking up simultaneously. They saw a gray angel with 6 wings on his back, holding a burning cigarette between his fingers, looking down at them disdainfully from above the swirling gray mist. North side border. 8 flashing points of light appeared in the sky, followed by a series of afterimages crashing into the divine shadow heading toward the city. Ares, the Olympian god of war, pupils suddenly contracted as he swung his axe backward, striking the afterimage in front of him, leaving a deep dent. At the same time his movement was forced to halt. Boom 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 boom. Consecutive metal pillars fell from the sky, creating terrifying craters on the ground, precisely surrounding Ares and trapping him within. "What is this?" Ares frowned deeply. Simultaneously, an illusory panel floated out from above the metal pillars. SS-class item. 8 techniques of god imprisonment. The surface of the 8 metal pillars simultaneously erupted with various colored lights, interweaving with each other like a cage trapping him inside. "You happen to attack from my position. How fortunate." A tall white-haired youth walked out from the ice and snow. He wore a black and gold long sword at his waist, his cross-star-like eyes narrowing slightly. "I've recently collected quite a few items with no one to test them on. Let me try them out on you first." A human ceiling? Ares sensed the aura from this youth and frowned slightly. "The absent ceiling Turk mentioned was you all along. Humph, a mere child thinks he can stop me?" Ares stomped heavily on the ground, terrifying divine power surging forth, the bloody aura of war sweeping through the air, instantly changing the color of heaven and earth. "Long Bai, don't underestimate him." Pale green code floated in the air as a figure wearing a checkered shirt slowly walked out, adjusting his hat brim as he said, "After all, he is a god of war, his combat power is not to be taken lightly." Another ceiling? Ares was startled to see another human ceiling appear. This wasn't right. Weren't all the highest human combat forces at Shunlong Pass except for one absent ceiling? Where did this second ceiling come from? It's fine, Long Bai. Go ahead, we've got your back, came the leisurely voice of Master Chen from a carriage arriving through the snow and wind. At the same time, the sound of a horse's neigh came from the distance. A black horse burning with netherworld flames broke through the blizzard, slowly stopping near Ares. Chin Han pulled the reins, his military coat dancing wildly in the snowstorm. Since this is a god-hunting festival, everyone should get a share. Only one god came to the northern border, which isn't enough to go around, he sighed. 4 human ceilings surrounded Ares, and seeing this, his expression completely changed. Even if Great Xia had more hidden human ceilings, it would be impossible to hide 4 at the northern border at once. This could only mean that the intelligence from Shenlong Pass was wrong. These top human experts never attended that celebration at all. Damn it, how did Turk and Kira transmit such faulty intelligence? You knew I was coming all along? Ares asked in a deep voice. Naturally, Master Chen's voice came unhurriedly from inside the carriage. Since this is a god-hunting festival, how could it proceed without gods participating? You didn't think this festival was simply a lively party centered around those 9 corpses, did you? Ares seemed to realize something, his face turning ashen. The god-hunting festival they had heard about was supposedly a celebration ceremony held by the Night Watchers to commemorate successfully hunting 9 gods. At this moment he understood that this wasn't a celebration at all, but a larger-scale god hunt. From the beginning, this festival was meant to provoke the gods in the mist, then pretend to expose a weakness, enticing the gods to boldly enter Great Xia's territory, a hunting activity conducted without leaving home. The gods thought they were the hunters, not realizing they were the prey lured by bait. But he didn't understand. Olympus had definitely sent people to infiltrate the celebration venue and specifically confirmed the celebration was taking place. How did they manage this? Ares had no time to think further. These 4 human ceilings, though lacking the ability to slay gods, would certainly overpower him if they joined forces. Since this was a trap for gods, he had to leave quickly. He immediately mobilized all his divine power and struck one of the metal pillars with his axe. A piercing boom echoed through the sky as he forcibly cut a gap in the SS-class restraining device. Trying to escape? Guanzai typed in the void with both hands, and the surrounding environment rapidly transformed. Countless red bricks piled up around the battlefield, forming an immense coliseum that enclosed Ares and the 4 humans. Chin Han's right hand, wearing a white glove, slowly rested on the hilt of his sword. A blazing flame of life took shape above Ares's head. A god's life flame, how vigorous. Chin Han narrowed his eyes, lightly flicked the reins with his left hand, and his netherworld black horse darted forward like lightning, charging into the trap. A flash of sword light swiftly slashed toward Ares's head. Looking at the red brick coliseum around him, rage burned in Ares's eyes. He, one of the 12 main Olympian gods, ruler of blood, fire and slaughter, the god of war. When had he ever been treated like a beast? He suddenly gripped his giant axe tightly and, facing Chin Han charging on horseback, delivered a mighty chop. Divine power tore through the void, the terrifying force directly sending Chin Han and his horse back several steps. He shook his sword-wielding wrist, muttering, "Such powerful strength." As Ares's blood-red eyes prepared to swing his giant axe again, a black and gold long sword cut through the void, lightly slashing his arm. Though this cut left only a thin line of blood, Ares could clearly feel some of his divine law being dispersed. He turned back in astonishment to see a white-haired figure in white clothes holding a long sword, smiling as he gazed at him. Supreme Calamity Blade. Divine Disaster. "Don't be so agitated," Master Chen's voice drifted over. "Today you cannot escape Great Xia and no one can save you. From the moment you stepped into Great Xia's territory, you were destined to become the 10th corpse on the god rack." Corpse. Ares gripped his giant axe tightly, blood and fire dancing around him, making the red brick coliseum beneath his feet tremble violently. "Though there are 4 of you, none possess divine law. How do you plan to kill me?" Inside the carriage, Master Chin raised a cup of hot tea and slowly took a sip. "Care to guess?" Boom. A dazzling golden pillar instantly pierced the sky, crashing down onto the earth, its brilliant light immediately enveloping Ares's figure. Layers of scorching divine might continuously dispersed, blowing up the corners of the 4 human ceiling's clothes. In the boundless deep space, an angel figure with 6 pure white wings on its back, holding a golden holy sword, was already floating directly above Great Xia. Those sun-like burning pupils were coldly gazing at the northern border. Sunken Dragon Pass. During the celebration, as Commander Lin's words fell, fireworks lit up across the city again, with colorful flames bursting in the sky. Behind Commander Lin, Wu Quan slowly raised his palm, and invisible controlling power surged forth. In the next moment, the colorful fireworks in the sky quickly moved, outlining a massive Night Watchman emblem that filled the sky above Sunken Dragon Pass. This scene left many Night Watchmen present stunned with their mouths agape, momentarily entranced. Next, Commander Lin will address everyone, announced the voice over the broadcast, followed immediately by enthusiastic applause. They're really making it look authentic, Kira couldn't help but sneer. By now, Lord Ares and the others should have already made their move. Soon they'll know what it means to have joy turned to sorrow. Commander Lin stood in the void, slightly opening his mouth about to say something when a piercing alarm suddenly echoed throughout Sunken Dragon Pass. Red lights flashed and the fireworks in the sky abruptly stopped. The Night Watchmen looked at each other in confusion, as if not understanding what was happening. A high-ranking official gently pressed his communicator, listened for a moment, then quickly walked to Commander Lin's side and whispered something. Commander Lin's expression immediately changed dramatically. Celebration cancelled. All Night Watchmen remain in position. Commander Lin's deep voice echoed within Sunken Dragon Pass. The next moment, the many high-ranking Night Watchmen behind him, along with the human elites and human deities who had come to observe the ceremony, all took flight, transforming into arcs of light rushing toward the northern and southern sides of Great Xia. As these figures departed, only a group of bewildered young Night Watchmen remained in the vast Sunken Dragon Pass, looking at each other in confusion. Seeing this, Turk couldn't help but laugh. Sure enough, this celebration was destined to end as a farce. More than just a farce. The expression on Commander Lin's face just now was truly spectacular. It seems Lord Ares' side is progressing quite smoothly. I think these higher-ups have really lost their minds, all rushing to support the southern and northern borders, leaving behind a bunch of wet-behind-the-ears kids. Isn't that just asking for death? Turk and Kira exchanged glances, both seeing the excitement and bloodthirst in each other's eyes. While Lord Ares and the others slaughtered civilians from both border sides, they naturally couldn't just wait around. There was still a core group of Night Watchmen left here, and if they could bathe this place in blood too, the Night Watchmen would suffer far more than just a flesh wound. Bang bang. The two immediately abandoned their disguises, their dark red cloaks exploding in mid-air. Like two ferocious beasts, they charged in different directions to kill. Two Klein-level auras violently erupted. The young Night Watchmen in the venue now, even the highest among them, were only at the sea level. Before these two foreign divine proxies, they had absolutely no power to resist. Terrified cries spread through the venue as these Night Watchmen were scared out of their wits, instinctively fleeing backward. After a moment they came to their senses and drew the straight knives from their waists to fight these two, but couldn't even withstand a single move before being killed on the spot. At the same time, besides Kira and Turk, 5 more infiltrating Outer God proxies appeared at the venue, grinning viciously as they killed the weaker Night Watchmen around them. They were divine proxies from Hidden God and Divine Paradise. Unlike Kira and Turk, who had the task of transmitting intelligence, they came here purely to gather information, but now seeing Olympus's plan succeeding, they also shed their disguises and began this slaughter festival. Streams of blood burst forth at the venue, with miserable screams rising one after another. This lively and joyous ceremony quickly turned into a sea of blood. This one-sided massacre aroused their thirst for killing, making them more excited the more they killed, unable to hold back their laughter. Great Xia Night Watchmen. Nothing but a bunch of stupid weak rats. Ha ha. Before their words faded, the surrounding environment began to gradually dematerialize. The blood-colored ground disappeared, the corpses strewn about gradually became transparent, and the festive venue once filled with stalls was suddenly stacked with cold, massive military equipment. In the empty sunken dragon pass, these 7 figures, chasing and hacking at the air like madmen, suddenly froze in place. Brilliant fireworks continued to launch into the sky, colorful lights illuminating the clouds. The celebration seemed to continue uninterrupted. But the interior of sunken Dragon Pass before their eyes had changed its appearance, desolate and cold, completely different from the celebratory venue moments ago. In the air, only the melodious sound of an instrument seemed to remain, lingering faintly in their ears. Where is everyone? Turk looked around in confusion. Apart from the 7 of them, there was no sign of anyone else. There's one. Kira exclaimed as if discovering something, pointing to a wall. On the high wall of sunken Dragon Pass, the 9 crosses containing the bodies of deities still existed. At the place where Commander Lin and the other high-ranking officials had been, a figure stood firmly. A black cloak fluttered in the sea breeze. He slowly lowered an ancient stone sun from his lips, and the melodious music abruptly stopped. He slowly raised his hand to remove his hood, the corner of his mouth curling into a mocking smile. "Hello, guests from the mist." Turk's pupils suddenly contracted as he recognized that familiar face. He is the mind god of Great Xia Wu Tongxian. Hearing the name Wu Tongxian, everyone's spirits shook. Kira recalled the dreamlike scene from just now, his face gloomy as he spoke. "Fake? Everything just now was an illusion you created for us?" "That's right. Old dog." No, Hujia's lips curved slightly upward as he spread his hands and said, "It seems our guest had a very enjoyable time. Although I could have killed you silently in the mental world, it seems more spectacular to let you see reality with your own eyes." "That's impossible. When did you pull us into the illusion?" "When you approached Sunken Dragon Pass and heard the sound of my sun." "So you knew all along?" Kira's eyes widened. "The reason you designed this illusion was to trick me into transmitting false intelligence? To lure the Olympian gods into attacking Great Xia? Seems you're not completely stupid." Hujia shrugged. Kira's face turned deathly pale. He knew their plan had completely failed. Looking around at the cold, empty sunken Dragon Pass, he laughed bitterly. "To trick us into transmitting intelligence, you actually pretended to hold such a grand celebration. What a grand gesture." Hearing these words, Hujia's eyebrows slightly raised. "Pretended? Who pretended? We really did hold one." The 7 outer god proxies all froze in place. At the same time, hundreds of miles away from Sunken Dragon Pass, on the sea surface, a ship loaded with night watchmen was sailing silently. Hundreds of night watchmen lay sprawled throughout the cabins as if asleep, with threads of cause and effect floating from their bodies, converging toward the bow. There, dressed in logistics uniform, Lin Chia supported causeless cause, with one hand and leisurely yawned. "The causeless cause. Chen Longwen. I declare the God Hunting Festival officially begins." As Commander Lin's voice fell, thunderous applause erupted from the venue. Jia Shasha and Jin Xiaoyi looked at that deep red figure, clapping their hands until they turned red. Streams of fireworks burst in the sky, converging into the shape of the Night Watcher's emblem under Wu Quan's control, drawing gasps of admiration from the crowd. Captain, eat a little less, your cheeks are about to burst." A member of the Phoenix team couldn't help but advise, watching zombie Xia Siming frantically stuffing small cakes into her mouth. Xia Siming still wore her zombie makeup with bright red working characters on her head, her mouth stuffed full. She glared at Commander Lin in the sky. #*@. "Captain, maybe finish eating before speaking?" "I refuse. If Lin the Skinflint won't approve our leave, can't he at least let me eat a few more pastries? I've already finished my performance. Today I'm going to enjoy this buffet. No one can stop me." Xia Siming sat cross-legged in front of the stall, a small cake in each hand, stuffing them into her mouth while looking up at Commander Lin in the sky with resentful eyes. The team member hesitated for a moment before saying, "But Captain, that's not Commander Lin. Commander Lin is outside managing this causality. Glaring at Monk Destiny won't help. They look the same anyway. Can't I just vent my frustration?" "Fine, fine. When we get back, I'm definitely finding a way to get approved leave. No one can stop me." Xia Siming determinedly waved her fist. Above the venue, a broadcast announcement sounded. "Next, Commander Lin will address everyone." Monk Destiny, wearing a deep red cloak with the 7th Commander's ceremonial saber at his waist, swept his indifferent gaze over the crowd below and spoke mechanically according to the script Lin Chia had written for him. To date, the God Hunting Project has been active for 4 years. During these 4 years we have achieved substantial results. The 9 divine corpses behind me are not the end of the plan. God Hunting continues. This 5-minute speech made Xia Siming yawn several times, but it excited the many young night watchers below. They listened attentively from beginning to end, and although half of them didn't fully understand, it didn't prevent them from building confidence and setting goals. The words God-slaying, once unimaginable before those 9 divine corpses, now seemed not so distant. Their spirits had transcended the confines of their original cities, entering a broader, more magnificent world. A city needs people to guard it, but the city itself should not become a cage for these people. After this festival, the spirit and vision of the younger generation of night watchers would far exceed all previous generations, continuously providing them with motivation and confidence, something unprecedented among past night watchers. I hope you all become the most excellent night watchers, but more than that, I hope you become the last generation of night watchers. Monk Destiny paused before delivering the final line of the speech. When the day comes that the world no longer needs night watchers for protection, it will mean that we have become the most successful generation. The night watchers below were stunned for a moment before they reacted, and thunderous applause filled the sky. With the end of the speech, the festival entered its final phase. Under the guidance of staff, the night watchers gradually moved toward the docks, but the fireworks on Chenlongwen's walls didn't stop. They became even more magnificent, as if bidding farewell to their departure. The night watchers boarded the ships, and as the whistles sounded, they passed through Chenlongwen's gates, gradually sailing toward land. They stood at the stern, gazing at the silver-white city gradually receding in the distance, their eyes filled with longing and reminiscence. Monk Destiny stood at the edge of the city wall. As the ships sailed away, the deep red cloak behind him gradually faded into nothingness, dissipating in midair. At the same time, the many human pinnacles and human deities standing behind him also dissolved into nothingness, as if they had never existed. Among the many phantom figures, only Wu Quan stepped forward, letting out a long breath. "Finally over. Monk, we performed pretty well this time, right? Can you put in a good word with Lin Commander Lin, to approve a day off for us?" Xia Siming, wearing a golden cloak, flew to Monk Destiny's side and asked. Monk Destiny glanced at her and said flatly, "You were certainly putting effort into glaring at me. Let's go. This causality that never existed should end now." As Monk Destiny's words fell, the world around them began to fade and blur. Strands of causality threads floated out from their bodies, extending into the distant void. East Sea surface. Lin Chia, holding the causeless cause, slowly opened his eyes. Hundreds of causality threads floated from his palm, returning to the sleeping night watchers behind him. Meanwhile, the figures of Monk Destiny, Wu Quan, and the Phoenix team approached from the distance. "Thank you all for your hard work," Lin Chia smiled slightly. Hearing this, Xia Siming's eyes lit up. "You think I worked hard too, right? So, Xia Siming, have you finished that 20,000-word self-criticism for forging leave papers last time?" Lin Chia asked leisurely before she could finish. Xia Siming's body stiffened. She laughed dryly and scratched her head. "I'm suddenly worried about the situation at other borders. I'll take my team to patrol first. You all chat slowly." With those words, Xia Siming gave a look to the Phoenix team members behind her, and they transformed into streaks of golden light, disappearing into the horizon. Monk Destiny tossed the saber to Lin Chia and calmly asked, "How's the situation?" One came from the northern border, surrounded by the four of them. "He probably won't escape." Two at the southern border. Brother Zhuai has already severely injured one, but the other has many tricks and has fled into the mist. "Then I'll go help first." Wu Quan immediately set off, heading straight for the southern border. With his departure, the ship grew quiet again. Lin Chia sat at the bow holding the saber, looking back at the sprawled sleeping night watchers, a faint smile curling at the corner of his mouth. "Next comes the most crucial step," Monk Destiny said with palms together, standing beside Lin Chia. "Yes." Lin Chia nodded. "Whether we can rouse the tiger in the mountain depends on this attempt." On the deck beside him, Zhen Xiaoyi and Jia Shasha, who were sleeping soundly, had fluttering eyelashes, seeming about to wake up. From the moment these night watchers boarded the ship, Lin Chia had already linked their fates within the causeless cause. He certainly knew that once the news of the god-hunting festival entered the mist, those outer gods would definitely take action. So from the beginning he never intended to let these young night watchers take risks. The real festival wasn't held inside Qianlong Pass, but within a strand of causality created by Lin Chia. The young night watchers attending the ceremony, the performing night watcher teams, and the staff of Qianlong Pass were all pulled by him into a causality that had never existed before. It was absolutely safe and absolutely real. After all, in a sense, this past had actually happened, just not in any known time or space. Pulling so many people into the causeless cause at once placed an enormous burden on Lin Chia. This was also one reason why he specifically instructed that those with less experience should have priority, because night watchers with higher cultivation levels would require more effort to pull into the causality. But for the god hunting, in this causality, except for Wu Quan and Destiny Monk, all the human powerhouses and human deities participating were puppets, created by Lin Chia without self-awareness. In this festival they weren't the protagonists. They just needed to sit there smiling, which naturally didn't arouse anyone's suspicion. Lin Chia himself needed to fully concentrate on maintaining this enormous causality while protecting these night watchers from the outside, so he had Destiny Monk appear and speak at the festival in his place. As for those outer god agents trying to infiltrate the festival, from the beginning, they had been pulled into a mental world by Hujia's Sun music. Although everything that happened was basically identical to the real festival to gain their trust, all the people inside were fictional. Now Hujia should have finished dealing with them. "Huh? Why am I lying on the ground?" A voice came from behind Lin Chia as Jia Shasha confusedly stood up from the deck. At the same time, many young night watchers began to wake up. The memories in their minds overlapped with the scene before their eyes, leaving them somewhat bewildered. In that non-existent causality, they were also on a ship returning to land, and the scenery outside the ship was identical. Though slightly confused, they didn't think much of it, assuming they had just spaced out momentarily. They excitedly exchanged conversations as if still savoring the festival, and the entire ship suddenly became lively. "They're so full of energy," Lin Chia couldn't help but sigh. Destiny Monk stood beside him saying nothing. "Brother Shasha, don't you think this staff member looks a bit like Commander Lin?" Zhen Xiaoyi, who was closest to the two with Jia Shasha, asked quietly as he saw the familiar profile. "He really does," Jia Shasha widened his eyes. "The monk beside him also looks like... Wait, they're exactly the same. Is Commander Lin actually a triplet? Why hasn't Sister Hongying ever mentioned this?" "I don't know." Hearing their whispers, Lin Chia couldn't help but chuckle, turning to wave at them. The two exchanged glances before approaching. "Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi, right?" "Yes." Jia Shasha examined Lin Chia for a long time before finally asking, "May I ask who you are?" "My name is Lin Chia. Haven't you seen my photo on the wall at the office?" Hearing this, the two opened their mouths in shock. They stared at the man wearing logistics staff clothing, their minds in complete chaos. He is Commander Lin Chia? But why is Commander Lin Chia wearing logistics staff clothing? If he is Commander Lin Chia, Then who was speaking at the festival just now? And who is the identical monk beside him? I'll explain the details to you later. Lin Chia waved his hand. Let me ask you, how many people are currently in Squad 136? 7. Do you have many missions usually? Jia Shasha thought for a moment. Not too many. A mystery appears once every 2 or 3 months on average. Usually we handle small tasks like mediating neighborhood disputes, finding lost pets or following cheating spouses. Good, that's good. Lin Chia nodded slightly, his eyes showing a hint of nostalgia. Commander Lin? Zhen Xiaoyi bit his lip and carefully asked, will you come back for dinner? Xiaoyi, we've already asked once, don't keep pushing. Commander Lin has to manage all the Night Watchers and protect humans from the Mist's threats. He's very busy, how could he have so much time to come back for dinner? Jia Shasha tugged at Zhen Xiaoyi's sleeve earnestly. Zhen Xiaoyi opened his mouth but then lowered his head without saying anything. Lin Chia and Destiny Monk exchanged glances and after a moment he smiled and said, I will. Once things are settled here I'll come back. Zhen Xiaoyi's eyes immediately lit up. That's great. Sister Hongying mentions you often. Were. As they were talking, several helicopters roared overhead, immediately attracting the attention of all the Night Watchers. Under the low sky, a massive, ferocious divine corpse was bound by giant nets beneath several helicopters. Crimson blood was clearly visible as the rotor blade's fierce winds raged across the sea surface, rapidly flying toward Qianlong Pass. Seeing this, all the Night Watchers were stunned. A divine corpse? Why is there another one? Weren't there 9 already displayed at Qianlong Pass? Could this be the 10th hunted divine corpse? That's impossible. All the top human fighters were just at Qianlong Pass. Who would have had time to hunt a deity? Amidst the confused discussions, Lin Chia's eyes narrowed slightly. Number 078, one of the 12 Olympian gods, Ares, god of war. This causality comes at just the right time. You establish the cause, I'll transfer the effect. Destiny Monk calmly spoke as his mud-stained Kasaya robe floated up on its own, and his entire body transformed into a stream of light, shooting directly toward Ares' corpse in midair. Several helicopters hovered in the air as Destiny Monk landed steadily on the giant net. With one hand he cut open Ares' chest and the still warm heart was clutched in his palm. Who is that? I don't know. He looks like Commander Lin. Heavens, he's cutting open the divine corpse? Is he going to dismember it? Under the watchful eyes of many Night Watchers, Destiny Monk held Ares' heart as threads of causality floated out from the heart, grasped in the hands of Lin Chia at the bow of the ship. And the other end of these causality threads was connected to the divine source of Olympus. The surging spiritual power turned the sea, causing the ship to rock violently. Destiny Monk held the heart of Ares in one hand, his eyes narrowed, fingers lightly plucking a few threads from the myriad causal strings in the sky, nodding slightly at Lin Chia. Commander Lin, what happened? Jia Shasha and Zhen Xiaoyi stood behind Lin Chia, asking in confusion. Nothing, you two go ahead first. Lin Chia slowly stood up from the bow, gripping the straight knife engraved with a golden 7 in his hand. He turned back to smile at the two. Once I finish things here I'll come find you in Songnan. As his words fell, his figure leaped up, heading straight toward Ares' corpse. Under the low sky, the ship gradually sailed away on the sea, and the two figures became increasingly blurred. What do you think Commander Lin is going to do with the divine corpse? Jia Shasha couldn't help asking as she gazed at the distant shadow. I don't know, but it's probably beyond our understanding. Zhen Xiaoyi sighed. Boom. In an instant, a brilliant golden light erupted from the sea behind the ship, shooting straight into the clouds. The turbulent waves nearly capsized the ship. Everyone held tightly to the railings to stabilize themselves. When they looked back, the distance had already become an ocean of golden light. Meanwhile, Olympus. Thunder clouds rolled as Poseidon, the sea god, sat on the cracked golden throne at the peak of the silent divine mountain, holding his trident and gazing toward the direction of Great Xia. The time should be about right, he murmured. I have a feeling this won't go as smoothly as planned, A figure shrouded in shadows beside the throne spoke hoarsely. Why? Those humans from Great Xia, we dealt with them 7 or 8 years ago. Even then, without their divine protection, they managed to withstand us with just a few human powerhouses. Now that Great Xia's combat strength has skyrocketed, do you think they'll be so easily defeated? Poseidon rested his chin on one hand as if deep in thought. If that's the case, why did you still allow them to go trouble Great Xia? He asked. Ares was Zeus's partisan. After we joined forces to kill Zeus, he stayed here for the glory of the Greek gods, but he was no longer of one mind with us. Such a threat is better eliminated. No wonder you let Ares attack alone from the northern border. Poseidon glanced at him, as expected of you, Hades. Hades's figure, shrouded in shadows, smiled grimly. As for the other two, they have plenty of tricks up their sleeves. Even if ambushed by Great Xia's people, they should have the ability to escape back. Using Great Xia to eliminate threats is indeed a good choice. But I must remind you that today's Olympus is no longer the Olympus of the past. Of our 12 main gods, some have died, some have left. Now besides those who went to Great Xia, only you, me, and Apollo remain. With just 3 main gods and a group of lesser gods, we cannot defeat Great Xia. Actively attacking Great Xia, we certainly have no chance of winning, but if they come here on their own, that's a different story. Hades spoke softly. We, like Great Xia, are ancient civilizations. In terms of foundation, we are no less than them. Back when Zeus was severely injured and near death, didn't Brahma of the Temple of Heaven also fail to leave Olympus? Poseidon frowned without speaking. Moreover, although Great Xia is now militarily strong, they don't have a supreme god in command, while you and I control the essence of Olympus. With this golden throne, ascending to the supreme realm is just a matter of these 2 years. Once one of us becomes supreme, what use will Great Xia's powerhouses be, no matter how many they have? Poseidon's expression softened somewhat. His trident trembled slightly, and a torch-shaped essence appeared before him, burning vigorously with origin power that seemed to contain an extremely vast force. Just as Poseidon was about to say something, suddenly the essence in his hand violently shook. Threads of causality extended from the void, suddenly locking onto the essence in his hand, and at the same time, a dazzling golden light surged out from within the essence. Poseidon froze in place. Boom! Golden light shot up from the essence, like a pillar of light straight into the sky, immediately attracting the attention of all Olympian gods. What happened? Why is the essence suddenly affected? Hades's face changed and he immediately asked. I don't know, it wasn't me, Poseidon said gravely. But there are only the 2 of us here? I said it has nothing to do with me. As the 2 argued, the golden light in the sky gradually dispersed, but the next moment, all the gods of Olympus were stunned. In the sky above the mountains, a golden horizontal line and a golden vertical line intersected, like an immense cross, imprinted in the void, covering the entire realm of Olympus. What is this? Hades looked up at the golden 10, asking in confusion. Poseidon didn't speak. He waved his hand and the trident standing on the ground whistled toward the sky, but passed through the center of the cross as if through nothing. How is this possible? Poseidon seemed to realize something, frowning and muttering. Seeing Poseidon's attack fail, Hades also launched an attack. A mass of underworld black energy surged into the sky, trying to consume the golden mark, but the mark not only remained unchanged but appeared on the surface of the black energy, like light projected onto a screen. What the hell is this? Don't bother trying. This thing is projected from our essence, Poseidon slowly said. Essence. Hades turned his head to see that indeed, a hint of golden light was faintly visible in the essence. Why would the essence suddenly project this thing? I don't know. Can we erase it? It's useless. Unless we destroy Olympus's essence ourselves, that golden mark will continue to exist. Is this a spontaneous anomaly in the essence or is it man-made? Not sure, but the essence has been in my hands all along, so the possibility of it being man-made should be low. Hades gazed deeply at the mark in the sky for a moment, then shook his head helplessly. If that's the case, let's observe it for a while longer. Great summer. Lin Chia pushed open the office door and stepped inside. Shin Qingzhu was leaning by the window smoking. Seeing Lin Chia arrive, he lightly flicked his cigarette, turning it to powder that scattered outside the window. Everything ready? Yes, it's been printed, Lin Chia said as he sat down in the office chair with a smile. But those Olympian gods will probably take a couple more days to understand what it actually means. True, they don't understand Chinese. How was the battle on your end? Killed one, the other escaped. Just bad luck. We stationed most people at the northern border, but only one deity showed up there while two came to the southern border at once. Being able to take down one is already quite good, Lin Chia nodded in approval. Shin Qingzhu didn't seem to share this sentiment. His brows remained furrowed, clearly displeased about letting one foreign god escape. By the way, Xia Siming came by earlier. Her? What for? At first she sneaked in, opening the door cautiously, but when she saw me inside she just smiled awkwardly for a while, then left a document on your desk and left. Hearing this, Lin Chia's mouth twitched slightly. He didn't even need to look at the document to know what it was. This girl has requested leave 4 times in half a year. Once claiming she had tuberculosis, once hemorrhoids, once saying she needed to go home for a blind date, and another time saying her mother gave birth to a brother. If I remember correctly, isn't her mother almost 60? Despite his complaints, after a moment, Lin Chia sighed and reached for the document. Let's see what excuse she's come up with this time. Leave request. Respected Commander Lin, I am pregnant. Pfft. Lin Chia sprayed out the water he had just taken a sip of. He coughed several times before regaining his composure, then continued reading in astonishment. Please don't ask who the father is. Perhaps it's my wild and free spirit. Recently, I feel my pregnancy is a bit unstable, so I've decided to take my baby to spend time in nature. Perhaps when I find my wild and free spirit again, the baby's condition will improve. This trip might take 3 or 4 days. Oh, and for the safety of my pregnancy, the other members of the Phoenix Squad may need to accompany me. During this time, we may not be able to serve the handsome and generous Commander Lin, crossed out. Please understand, Commander Lin. Phoenix Squad Leader Xia Siming. Asterisk. Lin Chia. He held his forehead with one hand and let out a long sigh. What's her excuse this time? She says she's pregnant. Shin Qingzhu's ears perked up and he lowered his voice. Whose? What do you mean whose? She's just making it up as an excuse. Even wrote about her wild and free spirit. Lin Chia crumpled the leave request into a ball, about to throw it in the trash, but then seemed to think of something and hesitated. He finally unfolded the request and signed his name at the bottom right. You're approving this? Shin Qingzhu asked in surprise. Why not? Lin Chia smiled coldly. The Night Watchers have rules too. Procedurally speaking, maternity leave must be approved. However, if she comes back after her leave and tells me she couldn't give birth, Shin Qingzhu understood Lin Chia's meaning and nodded. That method is indeed ruthless. Lin Chia had his secretary send out the approved request, then looked at the clock on the wall. It's about time, let's go visit teacher. The helicopter slowly descended over a wasteland, the whirlwind from its rotors pressing the withered grass flat against the ground. 2 figures in deep red cloaks jumped down from the cabin. Lin Chia patted the cabin door, signaling the helicopter to leave. As the humming sound rose again, only he and Shin Qingzhu remained in the entire wasteland. This was an uninhabited area at the edge of the desert, nearly 100 kilometers from the nearest city. Under the gray sky, fierce winds blew, making their cloaks flutter loudly. Lin Chia determined their direction and began walking deeper into the uninhabited zone. After walking about 2 or 3 kilometers, the ground beneath their feet was covered with a layer of yellow sand. Looking carefully, one could see that beneath the sand, the ground was covered with fine cracks. As far as the eye could see, there was no vegetation on the land, and not even a single bird could be seen along the way. Going deeper, even the presence of wind became blurred. In this deathly silent world, a faint sword intent seemed to hover above the two at all times. The further they went, the more intense the pressure became. Of course, this pressure was not directed at the two of them, but rather an indiscriminate release, as if somewhere deeper in the wasteland, there was a supreme sword unconsciously emitting its sharpness. Lin Qi'er and Xin Qingzhu showed no intention of stopping. They traveled through this sword intent, continuing forward until finally, a black dot appeared on the distant horizon. It was a thatched hut. The terrifying sword intent and pressure were all emanating from inside this hut. Under this sword intent, there was no wind within a 5-mile radius, and even the occasional raindrops falling from the sky would be torn apart in midair by the sword intent before they could touch the ground. Lin Qi'er slowly stopped when he was less than 100 meters from the thatched hut. His gaze swept the surroundings where white fine needles were suspended in the air around the hut. Looking closely, one would realize these weren't needles at all, but miniature sword shadows hanging upside down in the air. Teacher's aura has become even more terrifying. Lin Qi'er touched one of the sword shadows in front of him with his finger, which immediately cut his fingertip, drawing blood, and he couldn't help but sigh. Yes. It's been 3 years since he went into seclusion, right? Yes, it's almost 3 full years. Back then, when he carried his sword in one hand and dragged a suitcase full of books in the other, saying he wanted to break through to the supreme realm, I was shocked. Lin Qi'er's eyes showed a reminiscent look. 3 years have passed in a flash, and Teacher's aura is truly about to break through that barrier. If he succeeds, Teacher will not only be the first human to become a god, but also the first to reach the supreme realm, a supreme sword immortal. Xin Qingzhu let out a long sigh. Teacher is truly worthy of being our teacher. I thought our progress was fast enough, but we still can't keep up with Teacher's pace. To think he could come this far with just a glazed child's heart. Lin Qi'er smiled, his gaze sweeping over the miniature sword shadows around them, and asked softly, "Teacher, how much longer until you come out of seclusion?" After a moment, the miniature sword shadows floating in the air suddenly began to move, weaving together in front of the two to form a white character. 9